Hello, welcome to What's Bubbling at ZIM. I'm inventor Dan Zen, and in this bubbling we're going to take a look at what we've been doing with chaining. Okay, so let's go to the ZIM site now at zimjs.com. And we will go into, how about the news? So I'll pull down the news and just show you where this has been brought in. If you take a look at 4.7 and clicking the 4.7 here, it introduced the animation series, and we'll take a look at a bubbling series of that. But there's also some information on chaining. More chaining has been introduced. SCA for scale, reg for registration point, and size for some sort of sizing. There was earlier pose for position, move for to move something relative, so relative position, alp for alpha, rot for rotation, and ski for skew. Now let's see how these chaining methods work then. Because what's been happening over the last couple of months anyway, I've been doing a lot of chaining. So I'm just going to go back to the ZIM site. Well, actually, let's see. Do we need the ZIM site? Yeah, let's go peek at the docs. So we'll take a look at the docs, and I will just put in SCA, enter. And here we are at SCA, and you can see that these are part in the docs. Let me just make these a bit bigger for you. There is pose, move, alp, rot, siz, okay, so all of that batch. So that's the batch of chaining methods. There's also some new ones here called add to and remove from, and those allow us to chain. As a matter of fact, also so does center, and most of these other ones, fit, outline, etc. All of those you can chain with as well. So let's talk about what chaining is. How about we'll leave here. We'll go to some code. Here we are in a ZIM fit template, chaining. Okay, we're bringing in the latest of ZIM, and we come down to here. So here's what chaining's about. First of all, we'll make an object that we can chain. So var ball is equal to a new zim.Circle, and we will make that 100 comma and frame dot pink there. Now this itself is an object right there. We don't have to assign it. That is an object. It's a circle object. If we do assign it, then we can make reference to it with the variable ball. So we could end that statement and say ball dot add to stage, like so. Or we could say stage.add child ball. But anyway, here's ball.add to stage, and we can set other properties like, well, that's not a property. That is an important point. We can say here ball.x is equal to 10, like that, and the ball, well, let's make it 100 and really move it in, and we'll do the same with y. So I'll just copy that. So we're not chaining yet. We're just laying the grounds here for it. 100, 100, and that's 100 radius. So yeah, this should be up in the corner. And we'll view this in a browser. And there it is. So its center is at 100, 100, and then we've moved it over 100 and moved it down 100, and there's our ball. Okay, now how can we do this with chaining? Well, in each case, note that we're taking the ball and we're dotting it to it. So that's the ball, that's representing the ball object. Well, this thing right there is also the ball object. So if we wanted to, we could just say dot add to and then stage there, and not bother adding it to the stage there. We'll change this to 200, 200 to see, make sure that it's, that we're saving it and that we're viewing the new version here. So if we refresh here, there it is, still added to the stage and now moved over 200, 200. Now, if we want to move the ball x, we could, if we wanted to, dot x is equal to 200. We could do that too, because add to returns, what it does is it returns the object that it was put on. It returns the ball. So if you were to look at the code, if we go back here, open up the docs, docs, and type in add to, here it is. And if we scroll down here, it says returns object for chaining. And what that just means is if we were to view this and view the add to, here's what it does. It's really just, all it's doing is swapping add child. It does allow you to set an add child at as well. So it's really just a wrapper for that, except switching the directions. We're doing object.add to container, where add child does container.add_child object. Now, why I came in here though is to see it. Here it is returning the object. So whatever object we're adding gets returned. And that means that this add to returns the object, and then we're setting the X on it. But here's the problem. We just put 200 into the X. So the answer to this, what this answer is right here is 200, and we end up putting 200 into the var ball. Therefore, if we no longer have to do the X. As soon as we try and do the Y on it, it's trying to set a Y property on the value 200 on a number. So that won't work, which means we cannot chain properties like this onto the end. Well, we can, it works there, but it can't go any further, and therefore whatever it got assigned to, that's now broken. It's 200, it's not the object anymore. So we don't do that, and instead we provided in Zim a pose. So if we want to set the position, we could go 300, 300, for instance. That's the X and Y position. So comment that out. Now what happens is pose returns the object. So the object right here is made, gets put into add to, which returns the object, gets put into pose, which returns the object to here, to ball. So ball is still the object, okay? And we've set the pose. So this is how we can chain basic transformation properties. So that's things like position, rotation, skew, size, so scale. That kind of stuff. All right, so that's chaining. Now, if we wanted to do the scale.sca, we can use sca. It turns out that we actually have scale as well if we wanted to, but we'll just use the 3-letter methods. That's kind of fun, and we'll make that twice as big. So now we've got it added to the stage at position 300, 300. Well, let's yeah, okay, well, we'll leave it like that. And then we've scaled it to be twice as big. Now you see how this is going off the screen? It can do. So often what I'll do is I'll just bring this down and indent it. It's sort of a fake indent, but that's okay. Here we go. And so I'll make it like that. Here's the ball. I do not put a semicolon on the end because that would end the statement. But then we dot add to stage. We don't put a semicolon there. Nope. And dot pose and dot scale. And these things all become scaled. So I don't need that anymore. Let's take a look. We save that and refresh in here. Documentation, refresh. And there it is big and moved over. Cool, huh? Now what's neat about it is if we wanted to, we can comment things out. That's cool as well. So this would no longer add it to the stage. This would no longer scale it, so I save that and refresh here, and there it is, and now it's no longer scaled, etc. So if you have a big long list of things that you've changed, you're welcome to comment out any of those in between, much like you would be able to comment out each statement, but it's nice that we can still do it with the chaining. Any questions about that? Oh, what was your question? One thing is, if you don't want to position both things here, you might have to go null. Oops, null there means it won't do anything to the X, and it will do the Y. Another neat one is a dot move, and what move is relative. So there I will move it down 500. So what this does is the positioning, or sorry, move it over, that's the X. So the positioning itself doesn't do anything, but then we're going to move from wherever it was, which will be 0, over 500, and you'll see that this move will indeed move it to 500. So the positioning positioned only the Y, and then the move moved it. And that can be handy. For instance, often we're centering. So there we're going to center the ball on the stage, and we can then, from where we've centered it, I could move it over 100. So it's been centered, and now I move it over 100. Now we save that and refresh. And there it is. It was centered, and now it's moved over 100. And that's handy if you have several, like if we have 2 balls now. Let's make 2 balls. One thing to watch is when you, in Atom anyway, when I add something else to it, it thinks I'm at an indent level of here. It's a little bit annoying, but it's not the end of the world. We just have to make sure that we outdent again. Never be lazy with your indents. So here's ball 2. And there's another circle. We'll center it on the stage. And this one, we're going to move minus 100. So it's centered on the stage, but move minus 100. And you get the idea of the advantages of relative movement. Okay, so move is relative to wherever it's positioned. We can move it over a little bit. And of course, the Y is there as well if you wanted to do the Y. Okay, there's also registration. There's fine, nothing tricky there. We looked at scaling, rotation. We can't see really rotation with the ball, but so be it. And this is chained with everything else. So we've got a ball there. Watch this. Dot drag. So drag also returns the object for chaining, and I could chain beyond that if I wanted to. But here we are dragging one of the balls, the ball on the right, I think it was. And that ball drags, that ball doesn't. So that's the drag chain to it, and we can animate. So this other one here, we could go dot animate or a dot move, and here we're going to animate the we'll go the animation object. We will say the scale, I guess, scale to 2. Well, make it 0.5, make it smaller, and over time of 500 milliseconds, like so. So we've just chained onto the end and animate, and if we wanted to, we could chain onto the end of animate as well, because animate. So there it is, and that one just got smaller like that. Should we, let's rewind that, rewind, :true. So that will rewind to be smaller than bigger, boing, boing, smaller and bigger, and if we want, we can loop that. We'll loop : this is just so much fun. And we could loop it a certain number of times, and now that one will loop forever, and this one will pick up and kind of move it around. Isn't that great? So that's a what's bubbling with chaining, and as you'll see, most of the current things that we've been building at ZIM all have a lot of chaining in them, so that's why I thought I would start with a chaining bubbling. Bubbling, 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 oh my God. I am Inventor Dan Zen. We're here at What's Bubbling at ZIM. Have a great day and look forward to an upcoming bubbling on, let's see, how about the animation series? We'll do that and then we'll take a look at the sprites and stuff like that. Ciao.